Anissa is without a doubt the most unlikable character in Invincible, and not just because of her personality and her actions in the story, but because of the fact that she never genuinely faces any consequences for them. I know that some people disagree with that, and some people feel like that she was worthy of redemption later on in her arc in the Invincible comic series, but I personally disagree, and I honestly feel like the character only exists because Robert Kirkman is such a gooner that he wanted to include that storyline in his comics just to be a part of some of his fandom. Because when you really break down Anissa and her actions in the Invincible series, they are definitely irredeemable, especially if you know about that incident that we're about to get into in this video. And even though it's only happened in the comic book so far, I definitely don't believe that Anissa's TV show counterpart will be any different or any more redeemable. I definitely have seen some people say that Anissa, at least in the TV show version, is more reasonable, at least in her initial approach to Mark, how she tried to point out that the Viltrum Empire would definitely be able to help the humans in terms of their technological and medicinal advancement. I don't think that has anything to do with her actual character arc and what she ends up doing to Mark later on, because she literally takes his cheeks against his will and forces him to father her baby, which is disgusting for many reasons, but a lot of people just gloss over that detail for her for some reason. In fact, in a video I just posted about this topic less than a day ago, I literally have nothing on it but comments of people saying that it should have been them that it happened to instead of Invincible, just to show you with how little seriousness people actually treat this stuff. But regardless, what is Anissa gonna do when she's standing in front of the horny nigga Strangler? Today we're gonna answer that question, but before we do, make sure you leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We're first going to start off by power scaling Anissa, as she is a character in Invincible and also a member of the Viltrumite Empire. And with Anissa being a Viltrumite, she's obviously going to have all their enhanced superhuman stats like strength, speed, endurance, agility, etc. She also has the ability to survive in the vacuum of space for up to at least 2 weeks at a time, but arguably longer considering the fact that she's been alive much longer than a Viltrumite like Mark has. And Viltrumites only get stronger and more experienced with their physiology the older they age. But to give you a reference for her strength, she's able to one-shot completely gigantic city-destroying kaijus and make absolutely nothing of Season 2 Mark, who at that point you could at the very least argue would be continental. And despite this Mark having such power, Anissa made literally nothing of him. She was literally playing with him and disrespecting him during their entire encounter without even trying. In fact, I would argue that it's even impressive that Mark was able to survive against Anissa during this encounter in the first place, because of the fact that at this point in the story, she's probably the third or fourth strongest Viltrumite in existence, which means Anissa's strength is comparable to that of characters like Conquest and Omni-Man, who are both at the very least capable of wiping out an entire planet civilization. So I would scale her to at the very least moon level, but to be honest, she's probably even stronger than that. But all that means absolutely nothing when you take into consideration the fact that the horny nigga Strangler has an arsenal that is literally set up to counter everything Anissa is capable of, including his horny nigga kryptonite, which in this case would just be the Scourge virus. Since Anissa is from planet Viltrum, whenever this horny nigga kryptonite interacts with her system, she will simply get sick to the point where she will not be capable of using her powers anymore, and then the vigilante of the year will come in and absolutely devastate her. We also have to remember the fact that this is not the Strangler's first rodeo, which means that he is going to have the advantage if we give him prep time. So given prep time, the Strangler will definitely come up with the strat to take out Anissa and strangle her, even if she has her powers available to her at the moment. This is something that we know that Viltrumites are capable of experiencing. They can be strangled to death if you are strong enough to do so, because spoiler alert, this is how Invincible ends up finishing off Conquest in the Invincible comics during their second encounter. And once the horny nigga Strangler is made aware of Anissa's crimes against Invincible and other characters in the story, he is definitely going to have a personal vendetta against her and want to catch her. So I could totally see the Strangler luring Anissa in with the promise of Mark's cheeks, and then after tricking her into arriving into a secluded area in order to clap Mark's cheeks again, he would simply pull out the horny nigga repellent and the horny nigga kryptonite, thus infecting Anissa with the Scourge virus and causing her to be weakened and lose her physical power, so that he can finally finish the job and put an end to Anissa the way she should have gotten done in the comic. For the life of me, I never understood why Robert Kirkman thought Anissa was worthy of a redemption arc prior to her comic book death, and in all seriousness, I feel like that was a slap in the face to not only Mark, but to male victims of SA everywhere, because this is pretty much the only representation that we have in comic books and fiction for it. I mean, obviously that's too broad of a statement, because we have that same type of scenario happening to a character even as popular as Batman, but still, Mark is definitely the most human representation of an experience like this in fiction, and I definitely feel like it undermines that experience to give a redemption arc to his abuser. So this is personally the end that I would have preferred to see Anissa meet in the comic book version of the story, but definitely leave a like on the video and leave a comment telling me how you feel about it. Also, let me know who you think would win this versus match, because I know this is incredibly crazy, but I felt like it would be funny enough to make a video out of. So let me know how you're feeling. Thank you for watching. I love you all. Sun God signing off.
come in clutch like a genie. Don't talk unless you need me. You talk too much, you need it. All of my bitches look like models, she in love with me. When we link, it's flashing lights and cameras, got a blam.